Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on industry performance for the month of December. Hope all of you had a great weekend, and now we begin our fresh week, fresh Monday of the month. So, there is a lot of noise that is happening today or in the last 1 week about the COVID third wave. So, we have just a minute, huh? Yeah, I'm audible. So we have tried to focus more on the COVID third wave and its likely impact of the COVID third wave on the Indian pharma industry. So the contents for today's presentation, we would be focusing on the Omicron Delta impact, the revised Sutra model, the preparedness of the healthcare system. Then we also look at the IPM trends as on December 21, the therapy performance, the growth drivers, the top 40 brands as well as the companies, and the impact of COVID third wave on IPM trends, the molecules that may have increased demand, and also the key takeaways as far as the IPM performance is concerned. Coming to the COVID third wave, we first need to look at the Omicron plus Delta impact. The numbers which I have updated are as on yesterday, Sunday, 9th January. As we read the newspapers every day, the numbers will get updated. But then the objective of having this slide was to just give us a brief idea about how the market is evolving and what would be the likely impact. So, the third wave is a mix of Omicron and Delta variant. Though the popular belief is Omicron would be lesser virulent, the experience suggests that one should not be too complacent when it comes to any variant of Delta. The daily rate of positivity is 10%, but the good news is 90% of the hospital beds remain unoccupied and an insignificant number of ICU beds are occupied due to COVID complications. Majority of the patients are asymptomatic or with mild symptoms. Treatment is mostly symptomatic for home isolation patients. Paracetamol, multivitamins, and in some cases, cough syrup, throat lozenges, and anti-allergics are prescribed. India has recorded close to 1.5 lakh fresh COVID cases and 327 deaths in the last 24 hours, ending Sunday 9 a.m. With 40,000 recoveries, the active cases in the country reach around 6 lakhs. India's Omicron tally on Sunday reached close to 3,600 cases, of which close to 1,400 have recovered or discharged. It is expected that Omicron would gradually become a more dominant variant over Delta. Next, we discuss the revised Sutra model. The revised Sutra model it's basically a mathematical model which today tells that Omicron would be majorly driving the third wave of COVID, and it would peak anywhere between 6 to 10 lakh positive cases at the peak. Now, Sutra model was something which we had discussed during our discussions. Just a minute, I will. Yeah. Sutra model was something which we had discussed when we were discussing the IPM performance based on the June data. So, what is this Sutra model all about? The government of India has formed a panel which actually projects the trajectory of the pandemic. The approach is simple, susceptible, undetected, tested positive, and removed approach to study the trajectory of the pandemic. There are three main parameters: the beta parameter, which is also known as the contact rate, which measures how many people an infected person infects per day; the reach, which measures the exposure level of the population to the pandemic; and the epsilon, which is the ratio of the detected and undetected cases. So, depending upon the percentage of people susceptible to the virus, the daily cases in India could be around 6 lakhs or 10 lakhs during the peak. Now, this entire revised model was studied and brought into picture in the month of December, December 21. And as per those predictions, India was to reach the peak of the third wave somewhere in the month of February. However, this has got preponed, and cases are likely to peak in the third week of Jan, which is the week in which we are sitting today. This was the older Sutra model which I had discussed in June 2021, wherein this was the second wave peak and this is the third wave peak. So, in that times, what we had predicted is the third week is going to be a relatively milder peak, and the most optimistic scenario was talking that there would be absolutely no number of cases. However, the situation has changed, and this is the Sutra model as on Jan 2022. The most optimistic scenario talks about cases between 2 lakhs to 4 lakhs. The most realistic scenario talks about the cases touching 6 lakhs, and the most pessimistic scenario talks about the cases somewhere around 10 lakh cases. Optimistic scenario may be extremely difficult despite the curves that we are having in the market today. Reason being the population, the movement of the population, difficult to reach the optimistic scenario. Realistic scenario, possible if we manage to maintain all the restrictions, maintain all the COVID social behavior, probably we may reach the realistic scenario. And the most pessimistic scenario if we are absolutely negligent about everything. So in the old Sutra model, which I had discussed in June 2021, the peak of the second wave in the most pessimistic scenario would be less than half of the second wave. However, when we are looking at the Sutra model today, the things have changed. The peak of the second wave would be more than 2x times. Sorry, the peak of the third wave would be more than 2x times that of the peak of the second wave. So when we are talking about this type of exponential increase in numbers, it means that the numbers are not merely increasing, but the number of cases are accelerating. And they're accelerating at a super exponential growth. The good part is this growth may end in a few days. While we definitely expect the government of India to manage the healthcare machinery of the country and do everything to take care of the COVID third wave, as a responsible citizen, it is also our responsibility to do our little bit in managing the situation. The three parameters, which are beta, which is the contact rate, reach, which is the exposure level, and epsilon, which is the ratio of detected and undetected cases. How can we help to manage these situations? Beta can be managed by us by isolation after infection, reach by ensuring there is minimal social contact, follow all the COVID social behavior. And epsilon is timely testing once you feel you started showing symptoms of COVID. So, though the government of India is geared up to manage the entire situation, I think as responsible citizens, we also need to do our little bit. Now, preparedness of the healthcare system in this entire scenario. More than 60% of the eligible population is vaccinated today. Booster doses for senior citizens, healthcare workers, patients with comorbid conditions to start from today, which is 10th Jan. Vaccinations for the age group of 15 to 18 years has initiated in Jan 22, and over 30% in this age group have been vaccinated in the first 7 days. That is the first dose. 5 vaccines in ample quantity are available in the country today: Covishield, Covaxin, Sputnik, Corbevax, Covax, etc. COVID centers, or also we have Zycoti. COVID centers, all COVID centers reactivated with sufficient oxygen supplies. Launch of app, which is app has been launched, which is mothermaps.com. This app actually gives everybody information about which are the hospitals which are geared up for managing emergency hospitalization for the COVID patients. Also, what is the oxygen supply status for those hospitals? Though the challenges which these centers may even face today are the rapid infection that is happening with the doctors as well as the paramedical staff, because as soon as the paramedical staff or the doctors get infected, they need to be isolated, and they need to be isolated for at least 10 days. Availability of drugs. Distributors, retailers, hospitals are advised to keep sufficient stock of drugs, especially the ones which surged in demand during the second wave. Manufacturers are advised to boost production and manage distribution logistics to ensure every part of the country has sufficient stocks of drugs needed for COVID treatment and management of COVID treatment complications or opportunity infections. Curbs to restrict social contacts, restriction on movements on general public between 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., weekend lockdowns in some states, legal enforcement of COVID appropriate behavior, encouragement of work from home in public or private offices, also 50% occupancy in gyms, hotels, and other places of public gatherings. Now, this is something which has happened, or how we are getting geared up to manage the third wave. while the third wave is yet to touch and impact our IPM in the month of January, we also need to look at what were the IPM trends as on December. So the IPM has managed to close the year 2021 with a robust value growth of close to 15%. So when we're talking about the robust value growth, if you look at all the top therapies, majority of the top therapies have shown a double-digit growth. Cardiac and anti-diabetic therapies, which had slowed down on growth, even they are slightly moving on a positive note. Respiratory, pain, analgesics, and ophthalmology segment are the ones which also continue to show a good double-digit growth for the month of December as well. Growth for the month of December, you see, these are the growth drivers, the monthly growth drivers which we are seeing every month. Growth for the month of December is majorly price driven. So it is not a volume or a new introduction driven growth. It's majorly a price driven growth. Few key therapies have shown a dip in volume driven growth for the month of December. Anti-diabetes, nutritionals, derma, and gynec. And anti-neoplastics, which may be a smaller therapy, but they have shown a dip in the volume driven growth for the month of December. If you look at growth patterns in the corresponding months in 2020, it helps us to understand the double-digit growth in a few therapy areas. So what we have done in this table, all the therapy areas have been arranged in the descending order of their value. And this is the monthly growth, which was seen in September, October, November, December, and the monthly growth seen in September, October, November, December 21. So the growth for the month of September is September 20 over September 19. So growth for the month of September 21 is September 21 over September 20. So if you look at respiratory category, in the last 4 months, this category has shown a heavy degrowth. Whereas now in this current month, what is happening is we are seeing a good exponential growth. The reason for that is there is a correction of the dip that was seen last year, as well as the seasonal demand or the disease pattern after it has got normalized, the seasonal demand has also moved up. Same thing we can see for the pain and analgesics and the ophthalmology category. Among the top 20 players, while majority of the players showed a double-digit growth, if you see the top 20 players which contribute to around 70% of the IPM continue to show a good double-digit growth. But then there are certain players like Sun, Mankind, Torrent, Macleods, Intas, Micro, and IPCA, which continue to show a good double-digit growth, to a good extent unit growth as well, for the month of December as well. As far as the top brands, next 20 players is concerned, majority of them continue to show a double-digit growth at a MAT level. Players like Eris, Ajanta, Indoco, La Renon, Hetero, Blue Cross, Hegde, and Corona, they also show a double-digit growth for the month of December. As far as the ranking of the brands is concerned, we have arranged the top 20 brands in the descending order of value. Augmentin continues to be the #1 brand even for the month of December. So this brand has consistently maintained its #1 position for quite some time now. If you look at the growth of certain brands, Augmentin, Monosef, Dolo, Udiliv, Thyronorm, Foracort, Calpol, Pan, Rosuas, and Volini, these brands continue to show a robust double-digit growth. And the growth is not just a value growth, but it is also shown, they have also shown a good unit growth, indicating that there is good amount of pickup in volumes as well as value of this product. Now, if I were to look at, this Rosuva's from Sun, if you see the cardiac category has not grown to that extent, but this brand has shown a robust double-digit growth at a MAT level as well as for the month of December. Coming to the next 20 brands, again, you will see there are brands like Zerodol SP, Manforce, Ultraset, Sinarest, Pantop, Diolan, Dudecort, Micacin, Monosurf, and Betnovate N, which have managed to show a robust double-digit growth. Majority of them have shown a good double-digit growth, both in terms of value as well as in terms of units. And most of these drugs or most of these brands, if they are falling in the COVID category of drugs, especially in the pain management section, in the anti-infective section, in the respiratory section, probably these brands may continue to do well for the month of January as well. Coming to the impact of COVID third wave on IPM trends. I used to present this chart earlier. We had stopped presenting it because the second wave has subsided. But as the third wave comes into picture, this chart again comes into dominance. So here IPM, we have actually segregated in IPM drugs with COVID influence and IPM drugs without COVID influence. The contribution at a MAT level is 3763 and which has remained fairly constant, and this has been the contribution even before COVID times. But then when it was peak COVID season, that time the contribution had gone to 70, had gone to close to 50-50 for COVID, non-COVID. If you look at the growth of the COVID and non-COVID drugs for the month of December, the growth is fairly equal. It's 5% over here, 6% over here. Growth of the COVID drugs may not be essentially because of COVID treatment, but these drugs do have their own seasonal aspects because of which the growth had increased. Now, IPM with COVID drugs essentially includes the drugs which have peaked, or during the second wave, they had shown a significant increase in pickup during the second wave. From anti-infectives, it was favipiravir, remdesivir, azithromycin, which were used to treat the infections. And because of hospitalization or complications due to hospitalization, there were some other drugs which also started showing increase in pickup. As far as the gastro segment is concerned, the PPIs, probiotics, hepatic protectors, oral electrolytes also picked up due to for management of the complications of COVID. In certain cardiac patients where a blood clotting was seen, blood thinning agents or lipid lowering agents also showed a good amount of prominence. Wherever there were breathing problems, hormones like prednisolone, methylprednisolone, dexamethasone were given. And these hormones, if the dose was not titrated well, it also caused a disruption in the glucose levels of many diabetes patients, which increased the intake of injectable insulins. So injectable insulins were more given like an acute therapy for a limited number of days rather than the chronic therapy. Monoclonal antibodies also had a significant role to play when given in between day 3 to day 10 of the infection for the Delta variant. For prophylactic purpose, certain medications in the derma and stomatological sections like povidone iodine mouthwashes, disinfectants, etc., or in the nutritional segment like multivitamins, antioxidants, calcium, vitamin D3 for their immunomodulator or the immunobooster properties had also gained prominence. Pain or body ache, which was a common symptom in the Delta and which is a common symptom in the Omicron variant as well, along with the cough and cold. Even these two drugs had picked up significantly during the COVID times. And this is exactly what is we call as the COVID range of products or the COVID influence range of products. And we expect that a part of these section of these drugs would definitely increase in demand. So as if I look at what are the growth drivers for the month of December for the COVID influence portfolio, probably the growth has subsided to a great extent for majority except the respiratory and pain and analgesic section. But then would the situation change for the month of January? Probably yes, depending upon how the Omicron variant is moving up, how the infections are catching up, and how the people, depending upon their immune system, are responding to the COVID third wave. While talking about the COVID third wave, we need to consider some of the situational factors because the situation at the time of third wave is not the same as the situation that existed at the time of second wave. Today, we have a stronger vaccination status. We have lower hospitalization rates. Most of the infected population is receiving symptomatic treatment. People are more educated on proactive prevention measures. Not necessarily all of them are following, but at least they know what needs to be done. There are less incidences of panic reactions, and throat infections, body ache, and fatigue are more common symptoms in the third wave rather than difficulty in breathing and the severe symptoms that were seen in the second wave. So based on that, there may be certain drugs that may show increase in demand. Now, this is nothing, we are not forecasting the market, or not, we are not saying that this is definitely what would happen. But depending on these situational factors, this is what we feel may happen. So in case of Delta variant, it's not that, Omicron has already overtaken Delta variant. There are cases in the country where the Delta variant also exists and the Omicron variant also exists. In case of Delta variant, probably the therapy protocol remains the same as it was the last year. In case of Omicron variant, the same therapy protocol may not work. In majority of the Omicron cases, we have realized it's majorly paracetamol, multivitamins, and probably throat infection medications which are working. But net, favipiravir, remdesivir, and azithromycin may gain dominance, especially for Delta variants. Monoclonal antibodies also may become important. Medications for prophylactic purpose or prevention of diseases or prevention of COVID, like the Povidone iodine mouthwashes, disinfectants, multivitamins, will also become important. And for Omicron treatment, and also the general top level indications of body ache and cough and cold, the pain and respiratory drugs may become important. Now, there may be some hormonal products, like, for breathlessness, there are hormones which were given. They also may gain importance. Now, net, it's not that only these drugs are going to grow or only these drugs should be made available. The mandate given to all the distributors, retailers, manufacturers is to ensure all the drugs that were important in the second wave or showed an increase in consumption should be made available in the third wave, because we never know how the situation may change and which drugs may be needed at what point of time. We are actually discussing that the Omicron variant is going to become dominant. But what if it doesn't? What if Delta variant prevails? So the healthcare system of the country is probably not going to or willing to take any chances. And we are going to ensure that all the drugs are readily available. But then the drugs which I have highlighted in green color are the ones which probably may pick up a little faster in the peak of third wave. Reason being, the number of hospitalizations that we are seeing as of today are much lesser than what we had seen in the second wave. Also, the symptoms of patients which are getting detected positive are not as aggressive or as severe as the ones which we had seen in the second wave. Now, if I were to look at study the patterns, how the drugs would pick up. It's not just, I need to talk about the first wave and the second wave. I also need to look at how the different drugs behaved in the pre-COVID times. So I have not taken all the therapy areas. I have just taken a few therapy areas as examples over here. For example, I have taken the performance of the IPM from Jan 19 onwards. So I would say from Jan 19 to December 19, it would be a completely pre-COVID era where nothing regarding COVID had come into existence. It is in the month of from Jan 20 to December 21. I would consider these are the COVID times, and this is how the COVID year was impacted. So in the pre-COVID times, typically if you see in this period, July to October is a period where the demand of consumption. Now, this entire thing is unit trends, it's not value trend. Unit trend actually tells me the unit consumption pattern, irrespective of what is the value or what is the price of the drugs which falls in that particular category. The consumption peaks somewhere in the month of July to October. If you see, after the wave 2 subsided somewhere over here, IPM has shown a similar consumption pattern. Now, there may be certain COVID influenced drugs which may have shown increase in consumption, but that would be the seasonal demand because of the normalization of the disease pattern rather than the role they play in COVID treatment. Coming to anti-infectives. If you look at anti-infectives, it is the July to October months in the pre-COVID times when the anti-infective consumption increases. In COVID times, because of infections, there were, and especially because COVID drugs like Faviflu, Remdesivir, they picked up significantly. Then in the time of second wave, it was not just Faviflu and Remdesivir, it was also anti-infectives for hospital infections, even they picked up significantly. However, this normal high, which gets seen in the month of July, August, September, October, was also seen during the post-COVID times. Now we have seen that hospital infectives, anti-infectives, the sale was quite robust in this period as well as this period. Over here, it was mainly because of the hospitalizations that may have happened because of COVID complications. And in this period, it may be because there were certain surgeries that were put on hold during COVID times. And after things coming back to normal, those surgeries were resumed. Rest of the anti-infectives peak in demand as per the normal seasonal pattern, and they may actually get a further boost in the third wave as well. Coming to the nutritional products, if you see in the olden times or the pre-COVID times, I should not call it olden times, it's just 2 years now, but in the pre-COVID times, there is no significant peak that the nutritional segment shows. However, in the third wave, there will be a significant consumption of the COVID influenced nutritionals. One is because of the prophylactic role, and second is the general treatment protocol includes these drugs. As the average number of daily cases are expected to be around 6 to 10 lakhs, the consumption will proportionately increase. Even if you assume that most of the cases would be asymptomatic, as we keep on telling, many of the positive patients are not showing any symptoms. But if I were a sensible person, I would actually start consuming multivitamins, zinc supplements, just to keep myself safe and sound. Coming to the respiratory segment, in the non-COVID times as well, the respiratory segment peaks somewhere in the month of starts peaking somewhere from the month of July, August, and it remains high till the month of Feb. Now, these are typically the monsoon and winter seasons, and the normal disease patterns in the monsoon and winter season lead to increase in consumption of these products. A similar pattern was also observed after the peak, after the wave 2 subsided, and normalization of the disease pattern happened in the industry. As throat infections are a very common symptom of Omicron variant, it will push the demand for this category in addition to the normal seasonal demand. Now, why I always keep on saying that it would be the Omicron as well as the seasonal demand, because in the first wave, everybody was locked up in the house. The entire disease pattern had gone for a toss. Today, there are curbs, there are restrictions, but we are not locked up in our house. People are moving, they are getting exposed to conditions which may lead to the diseases which occur in that particular season. So, the normal seasonal disease pattern would also exist. In addition to that, there would be a demand because of the COVID third wave. Coming to the pain and analgesics section, if you see, July and October are usually the months where the unit consumption peaks. Even over here, a similar pattern is shown. Similar to the previous categories, pain category may also show a growth driven by a combined effect of seasonal disease pattern and usage in the management of COVID symptoms. Coming to the hormones, now hormones is a category which we really need to wait and watch. Reason being, as a normal seasonal disease, seasonal trend, hormones do pick up in this particular season. Over here, during the second wave, the peak was high because there was a consumption which was directly connected with the complication of breathlessness seen in COVID patients. Now, in the third wave, now this is the normal pattern of peak in this particular season, a normal seasonal disease pattern. In the third wave, we really need to look at the severity of the infections, how people who have already been vaccinated once, if they are getting infected by the same Delta variant, how are they able to manage? Do they see the same severe, reactions like breathlessness, or is their body little well prepared and is able to manage those infections? It's probably in the next 15 days we will come to know how the third wave is evolving and how the demand for the drugs which are needed for management of complications of related to COVID are also picking up. Then, last but not the least, we go to the key takeaways. So, what we have discussed so far, it essentially tells us that as we enter the COVID third wave in mid-January, our levels of apprehensions, anxieties seems to be much lower than what they were in the COVID second wave. Healthcare machinery seems to be well in place to handle the situation. While there may not be any need to panic, it would be unwise to be complacent. COVID would continue to behave like any other normal virus, showing mutations to escape the treatment. It is understood that Omicron variant would soon overtake Delta variant in absolute proportions. Heard about, in fact, in today's newspaper, I've seen an article which talks about D-micron, a new variant of Delta plus Omicron qualities which would arrive soon. It is said that as the virus mutates, the consecutive strands would be less virulent. We need to learn to live with the disease. Vaccinations, preventions, and previous infections means our body recognizes the virus and prevents it from causing serious illnesses. Despite a challenging year 2021, IPM has ended up showing a robust value growth of close to 15%. Majority of the therapies fall under the umbrella of double-digit growth. Among the top 40 players in the market, a significant chunk continues to show a double-digit growth even for the month of December. While Omicron may need relatively simpler treatment protocols, the Delta variant may demand the same therapy protocol as last year. Inventories of drugs would be boosted at a pan-India level to ensure we are prepared to manage Omicron as well as the Delta cases. So net-net, probably there is no need to panic, but then I think it's better to be safe than sorry. So that's all from our side for the performance of Indian pharma industry for the month of December, and also understanding how the COVID third wave has evolved so far, and how the COVID third wave may impact the drug uptake in the next few days. I wouldn't say next few months, because it's expected, the wave is expected to subside after or start subsiding after mid-Feb. So probably it's a wait and watch situation, and I'm sure all of us as a country would be coming out of this very safely and successfully. Thank you so much for joining us for the Indian pharma market performance review for the month of December. Have a nice week ahead.